Hello, 8th grade ARVA students. I am really excited to be talking to you about The Lady and the Tiger. Today, I will say that this will be a video that's in two parts because it is a little bit longer than our usual flip videos because I'm going to be talking to you about reading strategies and how to annotate our text. And then I'm also going to read The Lady or the Tiger and kind of walk through that text with you, showing you how to annotate it and how to use our reading our reading strategies to annotate it. However, I can only record for 15 minutes at a time. So the first half of this video will be about reading strategies and kind of talking about those. And then the second half, I will kind of delve into The Lady or the Tiger and really model for you how to use our reading strategies to effectively annotate our text and engage with our text. So that's where we're heading today. So let me go ahead and kind of book talk a little bit The Lady or the Tiger by Frank Stockton. It's on pages 152 through 161 in Classics for Young Readers. So you've got the text in front of you. I will also be displaying it on the board today, so you can see it there as well. This is a really, really interesting text. The idea behind this story is that there is kind of what the text will call a barbaric king who sets up a system of justice within his kingdom in which the people who are accused of wrongdoing are set in an arena where they must choose a door. And if they choose one door, a tiger will attack them and kill them. And most likely, that meant that they were guilty, right? Because they are choosing their own fate. And then the other door has a princess behind it, or a lady behind it, rather. And if the person accused of wrongdoing chooses the door with the lady behind it, they are immediately wed to this young lady as a reward for being innocent. So again, the idea is about choosing your own fate, and that fate would surely decide if you were guilty or innocent. Super interesting concept, and you're going to see just how suspenseful this is as we get into the specific characters in which this story involves. So that's where we're heading today. But the text is kind of difficult to understand. I think the language is a little archaic for some of us, and so we're going to have to kind of grapple with it a little bit. And that's where our reading strategies really become effective. Anytime that we are reading anything, we should be interacting with our text. We shouldn't be bystanders in our reading, meaning that we're reading over the words and the words are registering in our head or falling off of our lips, but we're not actually connecting with them. We're not thinking about them while we're reading. I don't know about you, but sometimes I'll read like a page or two in a book, and I'll get to the end and have absolutely no idea what's happened. Okay? So, and that's because I wasn't engaged with the text. I was reading it, I could see the words, and I knew what the words were, but I wasn't actually engaging with it. And so that's where reading strategies really help us understand the text better, and it's how we really learn to annotate our text. I know as a reader, I am huge on annotating. I write things in the margins of all my books. I'm kind of crazy about that. You guys have K-12 books, so you'll probably want to use sticky notes instead to write in your text. But it's really important that you have a way to engage with your text. I know when we've done this in the past, my students have found it really effective to buy a couple of pads of sticky notes. Some of my students even bought different colored sticky notes for different kinds of observations and different kind of annotations. If you're that organized, great for you. Get different colors. But otherwise, just get a pack of yellow sticky notes so that you can write things in your text and remember things as you are reading, as I'm going to show you guys today. So here are kind of the 6 different reading strategies that I frequently use and I think are really the main ones that we use. There's a lot of different reading strategies that float out there and they're all great, but I kind of boil mine down to the ones that I think I use the most often. And those are preview, questioning, connecting, predicting, summarizing, and evaluating. Okay? So let's first talk about how we preview a text. Now, previewing a text usually is more effective probably with nonfiction pieces or articles. You read the title, you see if there's any headings, pictures, graphs, that sort of thing. So you get a good idea of what kind of text you're reading. I also suggest always, if the reading is something that is going to have follow-up questions, read those questions first. It gives you purpose for reading. So if you're reading, for example, if you're reading your history textbook, go to the end of the chapter, read the questions that you need to know the answers to by the end of the chapter, and again, that way you know up front, hey, this is my purpose in reading, to be able to answer these questions. So I really always suggest that you do that if you know there's any questions that are following. And then what do you know about this topic already? Okay, now this could be applicable to any kind of reading that we're doing. A lot of times, though, again, it is probably nonfiction if you're reading, and I read a lot of articles online. So, for example, I saw an article today, and it said that people who drink coffee tend to live longer than people who don't. Okay, so what do I already know about that topic? Hello, I drink a lot of coffee, and everyone in my family drinks a lot of coffee. So I already have a connection to that topic, and I knew that based on the title. More people, or people who live longer are coffee drinkers. So I knew that from the title, and I had a connection there, and so that was a way that I already knew something about that topic. Now, if it's fiction, you may not be as familiar unless maybe you've heard about this book from someone else. You've read a summary from the back of the book. You've watched the movie. Those would all be instances in which you might have something that you do know about that topic already. Questioning the text. This is when you stop and you ask questions. In the margins, you jot them down, or for you guys with a sticky note, jot down things. Hey, I wonder what they're talking about here. Or, I'm not sure what this word means. I need to look this up. Why is the character doing this? Okay, this is super confusing for me. I'm hoping that they clarify this later. If not, I need to come back and see and reread this. It's when you stop, you ask questions, and you make sure that you understand where you don't understand something. Okay, that's just as important as understanding, is being able to identify what you don't understand, because then you can investigate and you can find the answers. Connecting. This is probably my favorite reading strategy. This is when you are reading how you actually relate to the piece. So, say you're reading a nonfiction story. Say you're reading a nonfiction story and it's about soccer, right? And you're a really strong soccer player. That's a connection that you can make to that text. Say, for an example, you're reading a fictional piece, and in the fictional piece, the main character's father dies. And in the past, you know, you've had a loved one that you have lost. So you can connect to that character and their sense of loss. Okay, so connections are things that connect you. They're commonalities that you have with the characters or with the topic. Or there's something that you know about. You can connect self to text, or you can connect text to world. So that would be more like today when we're reading The Lady or the Tiger. I'm going to show you how I make a connection to the reading and what I know about Roman history. So I know in Roman history they had colosseums, they had gladiators, and they were just as barbaric in how they punished people by the use of beasts eating people and things like that, or people, fighting each other to their death, as they are in The Lady and the Tiger. So even though The Lady and the Tiger is a fictional piece, I can relate that piece to real world events in Rome. Make a prediction. This is fun. When you're reading, you can jot down some things that you think are about to happen. Okay? What do you know and what do you think will happen? And then later you can go back and see if you're right. I like to do this periodically when I'm reading fictional pieces and kind of say, you know what, I think this guy and this girl are gonna end up getting married. Or I think that right now it's looking like this character is going to die before the end of the book. I just have a feeling that they're going to die before the end of the book. Predictions are good to, again, keep you engaged with the text and keep you thinking about what is coming up and maybe what clues the author is giving you about what's coming up. Summarize, of course, is something you do all the time. But it's probably one of the most important things that you can do to make sure that you understand the text. This is stopping every few paragraphs and jotting down what you know is happening. I know that seems tedious, but it's really important, especially with long pieces, to stop every few paragraphs, jot down, this is what's happened so far, making sure that you understand what has happened, because you cannot evaluate, you cannot analyze, you cannot synthesize the text unless you understand and comprehend the text. And then finally, evaluate. Evaluate is looking at all the information and deciding on some big things, like what is the theme? How does it make you feel? What's the author's style? Do you agree or do you disagree with what the author had to say? Okay, this is when you really take the information as a whole and you decide some really big concepts. You understand and jot down some really big ideas from the text. So that's what we have for reading strategies. In the second video, we will use these strategies to annotate The Lady and the Tiger.